Hello friends, before I get started with today's video, I want to say go check out my website at alistairtalks.neocities.org. I'll have a link in the description, or you can just type that in. I've been working on it a lot. I like it a lot. I'm proud of it. It's fun. I have music on there. I have, some thoughts of mine, lots of fun stuff. So go check it out. The video today is about Ralph Waldo Emerson, and I just finished reading this book today, which happens to be my birthday. Although this video is probably not going to come out on my birthday, but that's what today happens to be. Anyways, I haven't been reading as much, so it's been a while since I started this book, but I finally finished it. And I gotta say that Emerson is perhaps the most beautiful writer I have ever read in my life. And I guess that's not saying much, because there's a lot of writers I have yet to read. But Emerson really he blows my mind. And I could quote him all day. I will quote him a lot in this video, but I'll try to not quote him too much. I have this thing annotated to hell. I mean, it's like, I love everything he says. So, yeah. I particularly love, and I'll be quoting from them, but I particularly love Circles, The Oversoul, and Self-Reliance. Those are my favorite essays, and they come just like back to back in this book, so it's kind of awesome. It's interesting talking about Emerson. I feel like I talk about him I want to talk about him in a very different way than I talk about most philosophers. Emerson is just so inspiring. He just fills me with this inspiration. He just really reaches into my soul and ignites a fire within me that I have not really experienced with a lot of other writers. He just makes me want to be better, just to be the best person that I can be. Like, that's what he makes me feel. And I felt that reading almost every essay in this work. I've read some other Emerson essays in the past for some classes I've taken. I forget which ones they are. A lot of them were in this book. But yeah, I've read some Emerson before. I already had sort of fallen in love with him. And then I was like, well, I just need to read sort of his collection of essays. And so I picked this up at some point and decided to read it because I love Emerson so much. And now I love him maybe the most. This one is Nature and Selected Essays. And, honestly, I think Nature is one of the weaker essays in this whole book, but that's just my opinion. But nonetheless, in all of his essays, Emerson expresses this deep love for the world and for nature and the experience of living in the world. And that is also part of why he's just so captivating to read, because he just fills you with that love of the beauty of the universe. He says, my book should smell of pines and resound with the hum of insects. And I love that so much, because that's exactly how I feel reading his book. I read some of this outside, but I need to go more outside and read more Emerson, because that is really a top-notch experience. Highly suggest. I feel so drawn to all of the ideas that Emerson expresses in this book. He's really the champion of subjectivity. This is just like the book of, saying individuality, right? Subjectivity, that is what matters. That is what life is. And that speaks to me a lot. I'm very drawn to that perspective. There is no life without experience for Emerson, and that is just so profound. It's not enough to say what we believe. We have to live it and breathe it. And that means just being active in the world, being a force of creativity, being always in that present moment, putting your energy towards just living as truthfully as you can, living with intention, really, and with meaning, and that's everything, right? Especially in our modern age. If there's anything Emerson is against, it's just living like a spectator through life, just letting it move through you instead of actually living your life, putting yourself towards your life, right? He says, speak what you think now in hard words, and tomorrow speak what tomorrow thinks in hard words again, though it contradict everything you said today. And he also says, one of my favorite just simple little quotes from him is, if we live truly, we shall see truly. That's a big emphasis for him, and one of those big ideas that really draws me to Emerson. And of course, I like how much emphasis he puts on the individual. You know, that's essential to Emerson for sure. That subjective, personal relation to the world, you know, that is where we draw our truth and our meaning and our purpose. Not looking to external things to find happiness, but looking within yourself for that happiness, looking within yourself for the world. Like the world for Emerson is found within us. Everything is found within us. The greatest glories of God and of nature and of the universe are all found within each individual human being. And that is like the most powerful idea I think you can take from this, for sure. And of course, conformity is suicide, as Emerson says. This is also part of why he's so inspiring to me, because he's going right in your face and saying, be something new, be something different, do something, you know. Don't just sit by like a spectator. Find meaning for yourself. Don't just believe in your brother's God or your brother's brother's God, as he says. You know, find your own God, right? I love that view of religion that he has, especially. Like, God is not some external being that we just follow their command, but God is like an ever-changing relation that we have with the world itself. You know, that's very powerful. And I think what makes Emerson so timeless is that he is just saying the most radical ideas, you know, like those are the most valuable in ways. Uplifting everything that we know and have come to know, right? Like, he sees so much potential for the future of what can be, you know, for the individual and for human society. And so, yeah, I mean, that's what's really great, is that he's obviously, there's so much value put into the present and living in the present moment, but at the same time, Emerson also recognizes how important the future is, and thinking about the future and moving towards the future, right? And not staying stuck in the past. We have to be content where we are, of course, but we also have to be content where we're going. And again, that applies to the individual and also to, you know, humanity at large, right? He welcomes this change. This change and this flux is just integral to existence for Emerson. And that's also a theme you see in a lot of these, you know, existentialist-esque philosophers, right? Kierkegaard and, Nietzsche. Those philosophers, fantastic. I love those guys, you know. But Emerson also just expresses that idea in such a uniquely inspiring way, I guess, and that's why I'm sort of drawn to his presentation of that embrace of the change of life, the flow of life. Specifically because I think Emerson brings this hope and this excitement for the future and for the possibilities of humanity that I don't find in a lot of other places. He says on page 145 in The Oversoul, "The landscape, the figures, Boston, London, are facts as fugitive as any institution past or any whiff of mist or smoke, and so is society, and so is the world. The soul looketh steadily forwards, creating a world before her, leaving worlds behind her." Yeah, just, you know, powerful stuff. What I love is that he doesn't come off as some sort of high-minded kind of philosopher type that's just sort of preaching to the masses. He seems like someone who's very there and real, and, you know, he embraces the imperfections of living it. He really feels kind of like an everyman in a way. He's saying, of course, being genius is about creating and being radical, but it's also about speaking to that aspect of that truth that lies within everyone, you know, that lies within us all, right? And he puts so much value on our relation to other people. This is just a quote I have memorized because I think it's so integral to my philosophy in general, but it's, "Your solitude must be spiritual, not mechanical. What he means by that is that we live in a society of people. We have to be with people, and that means having virtue and kindness and sympathy, right? But we also must stand for ourselves, you know, and be able to look within ourselves and not always to externals. And so there's that balance for him between, you know, the individual and society. And I think that there's essays, I think that that quote that I just said might not be in these essays. That might be in some other essays that he's written that I would highly suggest. Those same themes still shine through in a lot of the essays in this work. So, and, you know, it's funny because he talks about Montaigne. He has a whole chapter about Montaigne, or essay about Montaigne in this, and I love Montaigne. I intend to reread Montaigne at some point because I read Montaigne a long time ago, but I really like Montaigne's essays because I really like, I feel like I can really see myself through him as a person, and I can do that same thing with Emerson in a way. And so Emerson makes me think very deeply. He gives me a lot to chew on, but it also just feels like I'm kind of having a conversation with a friend in a way, or just like, you know, exploring myself on a very personal level as I read this. It has that extra layer of meaning for me. And so, yeah, Emerson, just so timeless, so beautiful, just absolutely fantastic, and pretty much on the top tier for me in terms of writers, in terms of philosophers, just the way he speaks to me. I absolutely adore it. I love his style so much. I love his personality, his charm, and obviously, most importantly, just his ideas, right? And I really, you know, I didn't go into high amounts of detail in this video about all the concepts that he puts forward, because he talks about a lot of stuff. He dives into those concepts as a philosopher, but, you know, what really spoke to me was just sort of the poetry of his work. That's sort of what I wanted to express, because that's really what I connect to so much in this. So this video is less so like here's philosophy and here's what it is and how it works and that sort of thing, which I do with, you know, some other books that I've read. And it's more so just like hey, I really like this book. So I'm sorry this isn't like the most highly intellectual video that I could have made. I'm filled with hope for the future of humanity when I read Emerson, the possibilities of human imagination and creativity and what we can do and who we can be. I know we can be so much greater than who we are right now. And Emerson saw that so clearly. And that's, yeah. I'll end with a quote by him. Probably my favorite quote, because when I read it, I was just like, whoa. And so I'll leave that for you to think about. In the thought of tomorrow, there is a power to upheave all thy creed, all the creeds, all the literatures of the nations, and marshal thee to a heaven which no epic dream has yet depicted. I'll see you in the next video.